What's up, everybody, and welcome back to another episode where I am trying to complete all 296 North American released Nintendo 64 games. In today's episode, I picked up 10 more cartridges from local game stores, Facebook Marketplace, and even some from my very own childhood collection. All right, you guys, as mentioned in my introduction, 10 new cartridges being added to the collection. I will be honest with you guys, I can't tell a lie. A couple of these have obviously been in my collection for a lot longer than my recent attempt to collect all 296 North American released cartridges, such as this one. I guess we will start off with this guy because it was on top of the stack and I brought it up first. So another thing, I have my trusty baby wipes. I'm gonna wipe these guys down. So like I mentioned in the introduction, I do have some cartridges from my childhood collection. I wouldn't say it's my personal collection from my childhood. It's just what my brothers and I had. I obviously wasn't collecting games or anything like that at that time, but it's just stuff that we had around my older brother and I. Like I mentioned in previous videos, my two oldest brothers had different consoles. They had the SNES, the NES, stuff like that, just because they're a little bit older. And the Nintendo 64 was kind of out of their era. But Madden 2001, it's a very basic, very simple sports game. So this is, I think, the 5th or 6th year of Madden, maybe longer than that. I don't really know when Madden started. I should know that, but I don't. This is just the very first Madden game I believe that we had, and I specifically remember that because I saw the blue cartridge and I thought, holy crap, that's like the coolest thing ever. Little did I know there was other blue cartridges and things like that, but at that time I thought it was the coolest thing in the world. Very basic gameplay. Obviously the graphics are not what they are now, but I'm sure for 2001 this was the cream of the crop. But for me, I remember playing lots of hours in it. Or on it, excuse me, and it's just a cool piece to be able to find from my childhood and add it to my collection now. I wish I had every single North American release game in my collection as a kid, but obviously that's not the case. I did want to point out that this label is actually pretty nice, and so is the blue cartridge before I toss it in the box. There are some discoloration. I don't know if that's a stain of some sort or a scratch. And then on the back side, that label is just a little dented. So maybe one day I might upgrade cartridges, but I just like the idea of having as many childhood games from my personal life and personal collection when I was a kid in my collection now. So all Madden, John Madden, rest in peace. He died a couple years ago. And one more added to the collection. This is a game right here, Big Mountain 2000. It's just another ski and snowboarding game. I didn't mention in my previous video when I added Snow Kids. You guys can see it right there, actually. I didn't mention this guy to the list of winter sports types games because honestly I forgot about it. I did pick this up a couple of weeks ago from a local game store. It was probably longer than a couple weeks ago. I want to say it was pretty dang expensive. Well, maybe, I don't know. I had a credit from trading in some consoles and stuff like that, so I don't remember if it was like $100 or $80 with or without my in-store credit. So I need to be better about those prices just so I can see, kind of follow along how we're doing. There's a little bit of grime from the glue, from the sticker. So I'll try to get that off before it goes into the box. All right. But overall, I think this is an awesome condition. The hue of the front and back is pretty spot on. The label is in perfect condition. There is one small dent or a couple dents around the official Nintendo seal. But other than that, the corners are in pristine condition. No chipping, no pulling away. And then the back label is really nice for that guy. Here's the box. Looks more of a hipster game versus Snow Kids and 1080 degrees. Like I mentioned, I've played a ton of hours into 1080. I don't know if this is the most expensive snowboarding / winter game on the Nintendo 64. I mentioned in my previous video that 1080 degrees is, was it 20, 30 bucks? Nothing. It might even be cheaper than that. And then Snow Kids 1 is 50 to 60. Then Snow Kids 2 is upwards of 70 or 80, I believe. And I think this might be the most expensive winter game in this genre of skiing / snowboarding. But give you guys a little glimpse of the backside. It looks very similar to other snowboarding and winter sport-esque type of games. But I'm happy to have this guy, add it to the collection. Next one, don't know what stack to pull it from. We'll grab this guy right here. Army Men Sarge's Hero 3DO. This game reminds me a lot of Toy Story, or that kind of graphics, if you want to say. Obviously, Toy Story is about toys that are able to move and walk and have cognitive abilities, and this is how the Army game is as well. The kind of cool thing about this game is the graphics don't have to be there and don't have to be all that great, because obviously in real life these Army Men figures don't move. So the graphics don't have to be all that great. Label, front label, looks pretty good. There's a splash. It just looks like some dents and dings throughout. No ripping, no severe pulling from the corners, but there are some indents on it. Back label, there is a tiny bit of pull right there and right there, but the corners overall are in really nice condition. Find the box over here. Let's check out the back side. So like I said, you're in a house, you're outside doing missions, just very similar to Toy Story. I don't even know if Toy Story has a game. I think the last game I saw of the gameplay, that's what I base all this stuff off of. I wonder if they have one. No, they have one. I've seen a sealed copy of it. Duh. I also forget that I'm old and over 30 years old, so Toy Story is also really old. So Army Men Sarge's Hero added to the pile. Mission Impossible. So with this guy, I haven't played really any time of it. I will say that the graphics are a lot better than GoldenEye, which I also have in this collection that I'll be showing you guys here shortly. I don't know if this game came out later and after GoldenEye, which means it might have a year, 2, or even 3 years of graphic development, and that's why the graphics are substantially better. GoldenEye is just obviously an OG historical game for the Nintendo 64, but looking back, the graphics were just really bad. And obviously 007 is such an iconic character, and I think that weighs a lot in the value and the collectability of it. But Mission Impossible looks like kind of the same type of game, but the graphics are just so much better. So there is some damage here, a little bit of wear over here and up there, but besides that, no pulling or ripping. Back label is a little discolored. If you see the Nintendo logo right there, it's a little bit yellowish, not my forte, but the screws are nice. There's a little bit of grime in the Nintendo logo itself. I don't know if I can get that out before I put it in a box. Kind of, not really. And then I know I probably shouldn't be doing this, but that's okay. Sorry, I know I'm not talking. I'm trying to focus on that. Anyways, the underside is not overly clean, but it's also not really dirty at all. It's just wear and tear. Let's check out the back side of this box. Like I said, I think it has a little bit better graphics than Nintendo 64. I'll pull up Nintendo 64, the GoldenEye 007. I'll kind of let you guys compare. See the figures in that? How they're just really blocky and not all that realistic. Now again, this is Nintendo 64, so I understand. Like that, these soldiers inside of that, I think it's a cave inside there, or a bunker. They're just so bad. And these ones are just a little bit more fine-tuned. If you look at him right there, and then some of the characters over here. I obviously like GoldenEye a lot better. I have the CIB sealed, or CIB consoles for it. I have a sealed and graded copy, and I just enjoy the series. I have a ton of hours playing that with my older brothers, where they would always find the golden gun and then just dome me immediately when we would play player versus player type of gameplay. but I have a ton of hours into it, ton of gameplay into it. So obviously it has a more of a sentimental value than Mission Impossible, since I haven't really played this game at all. But I do think this guy's, you know, just a little bit better. Looks-wise. Obviously I haven't played the game. So Donkey Kong 64. This is actually a local Facebook Marketplace find. And for Facebook Marketplace, it is really nice. Show you guys the front label. Corners look really, really nice. Label overall, really no denting. There's a scratch right on Donkey Kong's mouth. You can see his lips right there. And then the black label, it's pushed over to the right-hand side, which kind of is unfortunate, but nothing, no issues with it at all. But overall, the cartridge is amazing. Screws are really nice. Everything's tight. This is like a very, very, very nice copy of this game. Obviously, it's Donkey Kong 64. I don't know really what else to say. Everyone who's played it has played it. Everyone who hasn't should play it. Obviously, a classic. It's unfortunate that this cartridge and this copy is going into my cartridge collection, because I have my childhood box right there that is waiting for a cartridge. It's not CIB. It's got all of the inserts and things like that. Box is not in good shape at all. It's from my childhood. It's just missing a cartridge. So that really nice clean copy would have been a nice addition to that guy, but I'm still holding out hope that my mom and my dad randomly one day say, oh look, I found another box of just a bunch of video game related stuff. Do you guys want it? And then I'll have that. I'll have my Mario Kart 64 copy. I'll have my Pokemon Stadium copy. So a boy can dream, right? All right, GoldenEye. This is actually from my childhood collection. Anything that's in my childhood collection, I'm keeping regardless, such as my Super Mario 64, like I just mentioned, my Madden, and this guy. They're not going to be in pristine condition as if I went and bought them myself, but that's okay. I'm taking the sentimental value over quality and condition. Even though if you look at it, the black label is still in really awesome shape. The front label is in good shape. There's just some yellowing and obviously some wear on the label itself, but that's the only speck right there of kind of the label being torn up. Everything else, the corners are in really nice condition. The label itself just is obviously showing some wear. Very clean. Prongs are clean. So I guess we did actually take care of our stuff when we were kids. Another game that if you've played it, you played it. If you haven't, you should. And there's not really much to talk about the gameplay because it's an iconic, very iconic game altogether. I have had a request recently in some comments to open up my CIB 007 console. So I'll be doing that in an upcoming video. I just don't know when at this time. All right, moving on. We have some Pilot Wings. This game, you just use, or you operate and fly various flying contraptions. So you have, I think you can have a helicopter, a plane. You can have a, gosh dang, what are those called? Gliders. That's what I was looking for. And you just do various tasks and missions and complete them, and that's pretty much it. So Pilot's Wings, I did buy this at a local game store. It's got a little bit of wear on here, but I do know that I bought it for about half of price charging. Sorry, I just hit my ring light, or my ring, so the camera freaked out. But overall, I don't know why it was being sold for so cheap. Maybe it was just a copy that they had laying around forever and they wanted to get rid of it. This isn't really a huge ticket item. I think this game is what, 10, 15, 20 bucks maybe. I'll toss a comp up somewhere like I always do. But I needed it for my 296 games to complete. And so maybe I lucked out and it was just a copy that had been sitting there forever. And because it's not a big ticket item, they just wanted to offload it. So I got it for relatively cheap. And I do know that I got it for, I want to say like $5 or $6. Funny, you have like Mount Rushmore, but with different characters, obviously. That one, that's a little suspicious. Wonder when this game came out. I don't want to say much, but those two towers look really similar. Anyways, I don't want the FBI and the CIA knocking on my door, even though we all know who did it. So, just a flying game. Haven't had a whole lot of time playing that. I just have played it here and there growing up, but nothing too crazy. All right, we have Pac-Man and Miss Pac-Man and their secret marriage. Not really a secret marriage, but this one is not just Mr. and Mrs. Pac-Man, like a traditional Pac-Man game that you would play with the dots, the fruits that bounce around, the items to catch, and obviously Mr. and Mrs. Pac-Man. This game has various things on it, various arcade games. So it's kind of like a combination of various games being added all onto one cartridge. The cartridge altogether is very nice. The label on the back side is very nice. The front side label, I don't know if those are actually dings, or it doesn't look like this. It doesn't look like the label is actually ripping up. I don't know if you guys can see that. It kind of just looks like it's been printed on, almost like the $sign or whatever this icon is for the old arcade game. It looks like maybe just lights. I don't know. All I know is I needed it and I got it. So looking on the back side, you have racing games, you have different strategy games. Miss Pac-Man, you have Galaga, and you have Mr. Pac-Man or just traditional Pac-Man. So it's just kind of a multitude of various games added to one cartridge. Just reminds me of a bunch of arcade games that, well, were put on a Nintendo 64 cartridge to play. Don't think I'll ever play this game. Now, obviously, I've played Galaga and I've played Pac-Man, things like that. I have a small little individual joystick game. I forget what they're called. And you hook it up to your TV and play Pac-Man through that and Galaga and all these other games. So I don't really have a need to play this. I just need it for the collection. Highly doubt it's desirable at all. But I needed it. Which leads me to this one, Miss Pac-Man. Miss Pac-Man is looking a little spicy. Look at that. Got the boots on, the lipstick on, and some boxing gloves. She's looking for Mr. Pac-Man. Miss Pac-Man Maze Madness. Again, just a Pac-Man game that has variations in it. I think Nintendo and Nintendo 64 really went after brand recognition. So obviously Mr. and Mrs. Pac-Man is a huge arcade brand recognition. And they just made various games in association with that. This one is obviously, you can see, is 3D modeled to where it's not your traditional game like this. So you do have that 3D model, which adds an element to it. And it's maze-esque. If you look at it, it looks like a corn maze. It looks like a, I don't know, just a maze, right? Whereas this guy, even though, yes, it's classified as a maze, it doesn't really look like it. It's just obviously a level. Gameplay and nothing too exciting. Whereas this, the 3D really adds a lot of character, and dimension to the gameplay, which I know is what three-dimensional means. So again, I played Pac-Man, I played Miss Pac-Man. No need to play that game ever again. So it leads us to our last game. And this one, I have no idea anything about. I probably should have done some research before. I don't know if this is PAL. I don't know if this is real. I don't know if the cartridge is supposed to be gray or black. A lot of wrestling games, the cartridges are gray or black. This one's blue. For some reason, I bought it at a game store. They sold it to me like a normal transaction, not fake, not a knockoff, not a reshell or anything like that. The thing that's throwing me for a loop is this red banner underneath. I don't know if this is just an off game that Nintendo did it for, but I've never really seen them on any North American released Nintendo 64 cartridge games. So I don't know why I think this is PAL. I don't know why I think this is fake. I think it's because the blue cartridge and then this red tag along the bottom. I'm going to do a little bit more research. I am going to add it to the collection because obviously I have it if it is a real game, which I know it is because I was sold it as a real game. But I definitely need to do some more research on it. Overall, the cartridge is in great condition. The label's in great condition. This front label, there's a little bit of wear on top. But overall, still really nice. Some indents, but that is so common with Nintendo 64 games. So every single game's going to have one unless you bought a sealed copy of a game. That's just how the cookie crumbles. So that makes 10. Sorry, I didn't mean to put it right in your guys' face. Bring these guys over here. I'm going to get a quick little head count of all of the other ones really quickly. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, 22, 24, 26, 28, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34. So 34 in the collection so far. These 10 bring it up to 44, which means we are approaching on 50, which is actually a decent amount for just starting a couple months ago. The nice thing is I am behind on making videos, so I probably have another 20 or 30 games that I've picked up. I just obviously need to make videos on. I also have duplicates, such as those. I have the player's choice. I have the standard ones. I have multiples that you guys have seen. So I have a lot more games than just these 44, but for the sake of collecting all 296 copies of cartridges, I am at 44. All right, you guys, it's gonna be a wrap for today's video. 10 more games added to the cartridge collection, bringing the total to 44. On some quick math, that's about 14, 15, 16-ish% of the total completion, 296 games that we are after. So with that being said, I really appreciate you guys watching. Please like and subscribe if you wanna follow along the journey to see if and when I collect every single Nintendo 64 game.